Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to the latest episode of 305 Live, which is brought to you by Dutch Valley Farms. What's Dutch Valley Farms? For starters, they're not your average cannabis grow farm. They've got deep roots in the 305, and this hometown group of doctors, CPAs, and Silicon Valley professionals have taken their talents from the 305 to the 503 to make the finest flower out there. Today, the Dutch Valley Farms crew is bringing together old school growing practices with new school tech to deliver a consistently clean, high quality experience you can feel good about. Do you want more information? Visit DutchVF.com or follow them on Instagram at Dutch Valley Farms. That's DutchVF.com. All right, Ethan Skolnick back on the latest 305 Live. I feel like we've been only doing Heat content this week, so I almost forgot there were two rivalry games going on in football because there seems to be no buzz about either. So we're not even going to talk Dolphins Jets today. We're going to talk Miami FSU. I've got Paul Austria. He's right next to me, and I've got Jazz Santana. You can find both of them on our various platforms, 5reasonsports.com, also on Kane's Maven. So let's get right to it. I'll go to you first, Jazz. Is there any significance to this game? Like, what should people be excited about?
There's always significance to this game. I think the cliche, the old adage, say, hey, throw the records out the window. It doesn't matter if you go 0-11 or 1-11, but as long as that one win is against FSU, I still think it rings true. People still get excited over this game. Yeah, does it have the same luster that it would have if both teams were, let's say, ranked in the top 25 and really competing for whether it's a national championship or an ACC championship? No, it doesn't. But still, a lot of these guys still played against each other in high school and like to talk smack to each other all the time. So I think it's still good for college football to see Miami FSU go at it. And you never know what's going to happen in these games, whether they're ranked or not. I mean, most of these games turn out to be pretty exciting. So yeah, I mean, it still has some of its luster, not the same as it's been in the past, but it's still Miami FSU.
Paul, for you?
Oh, Jazz hit on the money. Maybe it's not as high of a magnitude as it was like maybe like let's say early 2000s, just because of the current state of each program. I mean, both teams are coming in 4-4, not the greatest seasons for both of these teams, but like Jazz said, both teams have guys from South Florida, so they've played each other going up, starting from Pop Warner all the way up to high school, and I mean, it's just kind of it's still one of those times where like maybe even one team might be doing better than the other, but when they come play each other, it's always going to be a close game. I think the last 3 games have been decided by a total of like 6 points. And that's just to kind of show you that hey, it's not only great TV, but it's going to be a great football game nevertheless.
All right, so let's get to the two coaches because I think both of them are under fire for different reasons. Willie Taggart's been under fire pretty much since he got there, and a lot was made of the buyout and how long he's going to be able to stick around if the program doesn't kind of turn around. Manny Diaz came in quite the opposite. With Manny Diaz, there was a celebration when he was hired, and I feel like for the most part, it's kind of gone downhill since. I mean, we can obviously point to a couple of good moments, but for the most part, this season has been disappointing. I'll go to you first, Paul. Who has their program in a better position right now?
For me, I would say definitely Miami. Like you said, it kind of just felt like once Taggart was hired, it was kind of an exciting hire just because he's an alumni of school, so you kind of think that okay, maybe he has a feel of what FSU football should be like, but it just kind of seemed like it's like first year wasn't that great. This year it's kind of leveled off, but it's just not the same as when, like, let's say Jimbo Fisher a few years ago. It's not that kind of level yet. And even just some of the fans kind of want him out, even though he has a fully guaranteed contract. I think they'd be on the books for about $17 million at this point if they were to axe him. Compared to Manny, where you kind of see bits and pieces here or there of what the program could be like, and he has a great vision for the program as well. I think him growing up in Miami has played a big role in him just getting the job, and just his familiarity with the program, these past few years as well, which is in his favor. It could just be a first year thing for him. This is a first experience as head coach, and I mean he's kind of tinkering and everything. But I think for him, I think Diaz is definitely in a better position going forward.
Jazz,
look, Paul kind of hit on that where this is Manny's first year. This is Coach Taggart's third year now, second year, second or
I think
third year in the
second.
program. Yeah, so
Mhm,
I am still leaning a little bit Miami,
mhm,
just for the simple fact that and it's like this in every program when it comes to the fans and people outside making noise about hey, fire this guy or hire this guy or what's Manny doing on this player. I mean, we're 8 games into the season, right? So uh, manage expectations a little bit on that end. Although I do feel like there could be some things that could change in the program. Better play calls, like he says, we're a couple plays away from being 7-1 or 8-0. I don't know if I buy into that. I think there's a lot more that goes into it, but I mean the state of FSU with Coach with Willie Taggart, I think is a little bit different. Um, a lot of it plays into what he's done on social media and how he's handled a lot of things that they've done there as well, which probably doesn't sit well with alumni or their board or the school and program as well. So it's a little bit of a different situation. Yes, the love has gone. Uh, the honeymoon stage is a little bit over now for Manny Diaz, but I still think there's an opportunity for him to really develop this program and get it back to I never like to say get it back to the early 2000s and whatnot, but get it back to a respectable program where they can compete for the ACC championship and possibly in the playoffs. I think there's still an opportunity. Some things do need to change though.
Well, all right. So, man, I agree with you. Manny Diaz has won the social media game over Willie Taggart. I don't think there's any question. But it's the on the field stuff where they're kind of in the same position right now. Let's go to you first on this, Jazz. I mean, of the big three programs, I mean, I don't want to have the UCF debate right now, and we're not going to talk about FIU after that run defense last week. But let's just get into the big three programs. I mean, Florida was not in a great position a couple of years ago, and suddenly they are. Like, Dan Mullen has turned that whole thing around quickly, and I mean, their projection is up. So I would ask this question: if Florida can do it, why has it been such a struggle for Miami and FSU in particular?
You know, it could be a combination of a couple things. Dan Mullen is a great coach. I mean, at one point he did want the job down here in Miami, and we chose to go in a different direction. So, uh, I think the biggest thing is player development. I think that uh, Coach Mullen over at Florida has put his program in a position to succeed with his hires, and sometimes the hires are what they are. I mean, you can get lucky and hire someone that knows how to develop talent a little bit better than others, and that kind of plays out as the years go on or as the season goes on. But I think it's just a matter of player development. I think more than anything else. I'm not. I don't go by the whole putting a fence around the state of Miami and getting all the players here. If you guys really a lot of people understand the history of Miami football is a lot of players from outside the country, from outside Miami, from outside
mhm.
South Florida, thrived here, right? I know guys like Ed Reed and it's kind of a rare breed, but at the same time, they are guys from outside of the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel they need to do a better job of developing their players. I think Dan Enos, and someone brings up a good point. If Dan Enos stays around, if he does, he's going to have to modify that offense a little bit to better serve his players. I think that coming from Alabama, everybody was excited. He did work with the quarterbacks there with Tua and with Jalen Hurts and whatnot. But I think a lot of things still need to change on the offensive side of the ball more than anything else. And I think it comes down to player development because you can't. At least I can't sit there and say, well, is Tate Martell really that bad? And I go, I don't know if he's really that bad. I just think maybe it's a lack of player development and lack of coaching and putting players in the right position to succeed. There's too much talent on this team. There's too much talent on FSU for that matter to be struggling so much. So I think it's more a coaching thing, and what I mean by coaching is player development. A lot of these guys know what they're doing, but if you can't put your players in a position to execute, then this is what's going to happen. Your 4-4 seasons.
Paul?
I definitely agree with Jazz on this one. For me, it's two things with coaches that are important. Obviously, one is to groom these young men to become better people, but also to put players in a position to succeed. I think coming from us who have watched Miami for so long, there's no shortage of talent on this team at all. Like, even despite what we see on the scoreboard, despite what we see on the box score, there's definitely a lot of talent on this team. And I feel like with Enos definitely does need to modify his play calling just a bit I think in the beginning we were all excited about the two tight end sets, and we were kind of excited to see like, oh, what can Will Mallory bring to the table? We already know what Jordan can do, but what can Mallory do alongside him, and how can they kind of make it hard for defenses to defend? And I think that whole Mallory hype has kind of died down a bit. And even with some of the receivers, I think this kind of alludes to also, with Brian Hightower trying to wanting to transfer, just because he hasn't been getting much run in. But I remember what was the spring game last year, he had two touchdown catches in that game. I remember I thought this guy was gonna be a future star, and along with the product on the field as well. I mean, Jazz, you said it too. It's all player development, and also even going back to just recruiting. A lot of coaches have a better eye for hidden talent. They don't have to all be these 4 or 5 star talents. If they can find maybe a 2-star recruit at the diamond in the rough, even like an Ed Reed, then maybe they can develop them into becoming a great player.
Let's take a look at the quarterback situation. Jarren Williams is back at the helm. I thought we were going to get some clarity this season on this after we had the 3-man competition, and looked like Jarren Williams was the future. And then he has the one really horrible quarter, and then he's pulled for Perry, and then we find out he was hurt, and then he ends up missing some time, and so they go to Perry, but Perry struggles, and then it's Williams again. Start with you, Paul. Have we learned anything about the quarterback position this year? Do we know?
I think we know that there really hasn't been. Well, you could say Williams was that guy towards the end of the fall camp, where coaches felt that he kind of separated himself from the pack. But even Williams has his own deficiencies. He's not also a perfect quarterback, and I think we kind of know now that Perry and Williams are kind of different in a way. I think Williams is a much better accurate passer, whereas Perry is not. He's definitely willing to go deep. He's definitely willing to tuck it and run if he knows for sure that there's nothing there for his receivers. And it's going to be interesting. I think it's kind of just like in a way we kind of don't know what to expect sometimes, because this is still a tough FSU defense. He's going to be dealing with guys like Marvin Wilson trying to run up and sack him, and they have a great group of defensive ends. And I think it's just kind of weird that I think Diaz was trying to avoid having a quote-unquote quarterback controversy. But in a way, I kind of feel like we do have one, because there's been already 2 or 3 switches in the season. So it's still kind of there still hasn't been one guy that's been solidified as the guy, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and some people want him to play the third guy, right? I mean, you mentioned Tate Martell earlier. I mean, that still hasn't been settled. Jazz, I mean, we come out of this season, are we going to know Jarren Williams is the quarterback for them next year?
We still got a couple games left to figure that out. I think, to be in the position where we're still trying to figure it out is a bit concerning. But at the same time, going back to what we were talking about, making the switches and all that, and him struggling at the beginning of that game, he got hurt in the Central Michigan game when he was just getting absolutely torched. That offensive line looked terrible, and he did hurt his shoulder at that point. So I can see why in the following game he struggled, and he continued to struggle with arm strength as well. You still saw it a little bit now where he underthrew a couple of guys last week as well. And there's certain things that he does better than N'Kosi Perry, but at the same time, there's certain things that Perry does better than him still. And I think the fact that we're still trying to figure it out now is a bit concerning. Do I see him as the starting quarterback next year? I don't know. I really don't know yet. And that's the most concerning part about it all. He does some really great things, but he also has some deficiencies, like Paul mentioned. And I don't know if we will. I mean, there's a couple guys coming in. This Van Dyke kid coming in next year as well, who may have a say in this. Maybe even a kid like Peyton Matoka, or who. I think the biggest thing is going to be, is this offense going to stay the way it is? Is Danino's going to stay? Or is he going to adjust to the players that he has? Is he going to get this cutting edge offense that Manny Diaz spoke about and really progress it and make it better than what it is now? Because at the end of the day, if the offense stays the way it is as far as scheme wise, I think we're still going to have an issue. We're not going to really know who the best quarterback is until they really, I guess, blow it out of the water and completely separate themselves from the rest. And for the guy, and for the people calling for Tate Martell to play, I'm at a point where why not? I mean, we're 4-4. There really is nothing to lose at this point. But he may add a little more excitement, a little bit of a different style of quarterback. And look, man, he came from Ohio State. He can't be
Right.
that bad. He can't be that bad. He did lose out to Dwayne Haskins and ultimately probably was going to lose out to Justin Fields. But does that make him a bad quarterback? No. At the same time, they're put in a system to thrive, and this may be the correct system. Again, I'm all about. I don't really play into the whole, well, in practice he looks great. Well, yeah, there's a lot of 2 o'clock hitters out there, but when the lights go on,
Right.
it's a totally different ballgame. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to get some burn. Now he actually has made the move to transition back to quarterback full time now. Maybe the wide receiver thing didn't work out for him, which yeah, I kind of like. So hopefully we do get to see a little bit of him. And if he's no good, then he's no good. At this point, what do we got to lose?
All right, let's get quickly. Go ahead, Paul.
And you bring up Fields and Haskins. Those are 2 very, very, very talented quarterbacks. Haskins won the first round. Yeah. Fields is balling out right now. So, I mean, really, can you blame him? I mean, those guys are super, super talented.
Yeah, I mean, Fields is likely a first-round pick in a year. So, I mean,
right.
It's most likely, particularly when you look at that quarterback class after Lawrence, it's kind of unclear who else will be in that mix. All right, quickly,
and he's struggling right now too. So.
Right. Well, yeah, and it happens. Let's get to predictions real quick here, Paul.
Oh my goodness! I predict yet another close game. I'm honestly kind of taking a chance here. I'm praying that something sparks the Miami defense, and they need turnovers. They need to force turnovers in this game. I think they force maybe 2 or 3, and I think Miami finds a way to pull this out 20-17.
Jazz?
Defense has been playing rather good lately, right? At least last game they played really well. They forced 3 or 4 turnovers last game. The offense couldn't find the end zone at all up until the end, which was actually a great drive when Jaron Williams came in and led them to that game-winning touchdown. But I think it's going to be all about the defenses again. If the defense can control the line of scrimmage and get some turnovers, like Paul said, I think there's an opportunity for the offense to make a few plays. If they've made some adjustments, if they execute properly, I can see Miami really doing some damage. But again, it's Miami FSU, so God knows what the hell is going to happen. But I'm going to go a little more high scoring than Paul did, and I'm going to go 34-23 Miami.
I mean, I
think maybe they at the end of the game, the fourth quarter just kind of falls apart and they put it away.
I put it away. All right, so 34-23.
Why not? What the hell?
I like Miami in this game actually too. I think the difference we've seen since Manny took over the defense in large part is significant, and I think that carries forward in this game. And I do think he has the program on a slightly better path than Taggart. I think it's going to work out better for Manny than it works out for Willie. But I'm with you guys. Dan Enos needs to adjust. I was very impressed by what I saw early in the Florida game, but since then, we've had this problem with Miami coaches forever. It's like you're not adjusting to the talent you have. You're adjusting to the talent you want to have. It's not.
Yeah.
You can't do. We saw that with D'Onofrio on defense, where he has guys who are trained to be press corners playing 10 yards off the line of scrimmage.
I hate that name. I hate that name.
Why do you even mention that?
I hate that name.
Sorry for doing that. All right, where can we follow you guys? Jazz, Paul.
Go ahead, Jazz.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Jazz Santana. I also do a lot on Kane Maven, so follow Kane Maven at Kane Maven, and just keep an eye out for everything that we post on there. Paul, I want to get with you on some recruiting stuff, man. We got to do that.
We need to. I've been slacking with a bunch of stuff. I've been handling a bunch of family stuff, but I am here. I am focused. Guys, follow me at Paul Austria _. I tweet a lot of Kane stuff as well as a lot of Miami Heat stuff. I know that's a whole different story. Been focused on them a little bit, but back to Kane. Okay, back to Kane. It's Miami FSU tomorrow. I'm ready for this.
All right. Follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. Again, check out DutchVF.com. That's DutchVF.com. Dutch Valley Farms. Does he got the hat on right now, Jazz?
No. I'm actually at work, so I was gonna wear it today, but I didn't know how work would.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you can wear that one to work. Only work for me.
But shout out to Dutch Valley Farms, absolutely.
Shout out. Thanks, guys. We'll be back with a Heat one next week.
You got
it. Yes. See you guys.